Stop. Hey there, this is your host from Fatherhood Friday, here to tell you why AnchorFM.com is the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Their creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right on your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Breaker, Bullhorn Radio Public, and much more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimal listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So if you're interested in making a podcast, stop by AnchorFM.com. It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Hey there, this is your host from Fatherhood Friday, here to tell you why AnchorFM.com is the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain.
Next on Fatherhood Fridays, Season 4.
Yo, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Just excited this week. Man, I have been trying to get this brother on air.
Well, I can tell you for sure that there are no perfect parents.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think, one of the biggest challenges, I think, for moms and dads in general is that parenting, you sense it. It's one of the most critical roles that you're going to play in life.
I think I shared my my feelings on that.
All right, so this is what I got so far.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. You are now listening to Fatherhood Fridays with your host, Chalmer. This is Season 4. Not quite sure what episode it is, but nevertheless, I'm here, we're here, so turn me up. It's just another day walking through my neighborhood in a cool, cloudy morning, exercising, and feeling really good about where I'm at with my condition. And one of my health conditions that I found out a few months ago is that I'm now a diabetic. But that's not where the story ends, folks. I'm giving you part 2 of the story, giving you the latest update of myself, giving you information that the doctor has shared with me that my wife and I have researched, and so that this condition can be reversed and I don't have to live with it the rest of my life, because we don't know when we're going to die. We just know we're all going to die. And so I want to live my best life to give glory to God through even health, through even my body. But I want to start off with a story. Most of us that are listening, we're all familiar with the pay-a-day cash advance loan places we see on the corners or in our neighborhoods or in the cities, right? Why do we get a payday loan? We get a payday loan because we're in desperate need of money. But it comes with a sacrifice. We're in desperate need of money. So they charge you a high interest rate, sometimes 23-24%, to pay something that's worth $500 you borrowed. And you end up making these minimal payments, and making these minimal payments, you end up paying more than what you borrowed against. And so that's a lot of times how we look at our health. We're hungry, we're desperate for food, and we just end up putting anything in our body, right? But that's not where the story ends. We end up putting anything in our body. And now, because we putting anything in our body, just like we're desperate for money, we got to borrow against our own body. But it comes at a cost. And so when a doctor tells you you have this, you have that, we think, well, as long as I take this pill, as long as I do this, I'll be just fine. And sometimes when we just do the bare minimum, which I know people that are diabetic or that have diabetes, and all they do is just take the pill or do 5-minute workout, and nothing about their diet, nothing about their mindset, nothing about exercise has changed. They find themselves with borrowing against their self, just like the loan, and paying on it longer than what's anticipated. And so when that story was broke down to me in that way, I was like, I gotta be more aggressive in what I'm trying to do to see better results and give my body a fighting chance. Because, you know, doctors, mother-in-law, they told me, like, with my A1C, which is blood sugar level, I could be off of it in a year. Maybe less than that. So let's talk about blood glucose, right? So when you go to the doctor and you might have symptoms of being a diabetic, and I had a few, such as fatigue from time to time, headaches, random headaches. They pull your blood to see what's in it. And so they check to see if there's sugar in your blood. They check to see other things as well, but we're staying in the topic of diabetes, or me being a diabetic. And so they pulled my blood, and my sugar level was at a 7.2. Now, is that high? Yeah, because your sugar level to be, there's 3 stages. There's no diabetes, pre-diabetic, and diabetes. So what means you are not a diabetic at all if your sugar level is below 5.7. And I mean, you can Google this information, it's readily made known. 5.7 or 100 ml. I think that stands for milliliters. So, if you're under 5.7, then you're not in that range, or you're not in that category. Anything between 5.7 and 6.4, you are considered a pre-diabetic, which means 1 soda, 1 piece of white bread, a couple of pieces of candy, you're on your way. anything above 6.5. We're talking about A1C1, blood sugar level. Anything above 6.5, you're considered a diabetic.
Hey, you out there. Voting isn't just going to the polls on election day anymore. Options like early voting, mail-in voting, and ballot drop boxes are available to more voters and are growing in popularity. How to Vote, a tool created by Democracy Works, breaks down the options your state offers for casting a ballot, empowering you to decide when and where to vote. For more information, go to howto.vote. Thanks.
I am at a 7.2, or at least I was when they diagnosed me with diabetes. And here's the thing, even if you're, according to doctors, even if your blood sugar level goes back down to normal levels, once you hit that threshold, they will always put in your file, they'll always put in your chart you're a diabetic. Even if you be like, I reversed it, I worked out, I exercised, I did all these things. According to a doctor, you're still always going to be looked at as a diabetic. Once you hit that threshold, even if you come off of it, you're still considered a diabetic. And so that's a scary thought to live by, or to know on how doctors perceive it. But anyway, so I'm at a 7.2, which is not terrible, but a diabetic is a diabetic. Whether you at 6.6, 7.2, and usually when you're a diabetic, that means your cholesterol is also maybe high. You might have high blood pressure, which I didn't, amongst other things. So now we are exploring the different levels. Also, another thing that I didn't have clarity on is that there are levels to being a diabetic, such as there are people that just take the pill, right? I only take a pill, and it's called metformin, and there have been research and a lot of negative things I've heard about metformin, but I have to take it, right? There are holistic approaches you can do, which I am doing too, but there's a thing called metformin that you take to, what that does is it works proactively against your liver so that it can stop producing sugar in your bloodstream. And there might be a doctor out here listening. I might not be saying the technical terms, but I'm trying to break it in layman's terms for the fathers and the men and maybe even women to hear how this thing works. And so they'll tell you that it's on a proactive end when you're taking metformin, because it's working to reduce the sugar in your bloodstream. And so it kind of plays the background, so to speak. If you are on the higher end, you have to get insulin shots where they give you insulin and you have to poke yourself. And that's reactive because your body is not producing insulin. Something in your body has shut down because it's being overworked due to an unhealthy diet. And so a lot of times people don't catch it early like I did. Sometimes people, by the time they find out the doctor either has them on a high level of metformin, A, or B, they have to take insulin shots, which is even worse. And so I'm on the low end, but that's nothing to brag about. And so since that time, I have lost 8 to 9 pounds. I wake up most mornings exercising, whether it's walking, jogging. And now I do exercises because I have a lot of back issues. So I'm seeing a chiropractor on a regular basis, and that's been helping tremendously. And so since that time, I talked about part 1, which was in season 3, and that may have been around spring of 2020. I've lost 8 to 9 pounds. My levels, been keeping track, and you can get even if you're not a diabetic, you can go to your local pharmacy or convenience store, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, get you a blood glucose meter and just see where you're at. It's just good to know your body. It's just a little prick and it reads your blood. And so once I've gotten over my anxiety and fear of poking myself, once I started doing it and doing it consistently, my blood sugar has dropped to pre-diabetic levels. And so it's a slow process, but it's better being at that level than being at the diabetic level. So I checked it this morning and I'm at a 5.8. So if I was just 1 degree under, 2 degrees under, I'd be at normal level, and that's in 3 months. So if I was at like a 5.6, 5.5, I'd be right there. And that's through 5 essential things: diet, exercise, shifting your mindset, releasing toxins, and believing. Seeing yourself smaller, seeing yourself thinner, seeing yourself more healthy. And so those are the things that I've been doing to fight against this thing. 50 to 60% of all diseases come from an unhealthy diet and lack of exercise. I don't care what nobody says. It's proof. And so diabetes is actually one of them, and that's why it can be reversed. And so I'm just encouraging you guys, as I'm encouraging myself this morning. So I'm taking my walk and talking to you guys, that I'm making progress. Hasn't been easy. I've had my slip-ups. You know, I love lemonade. Don't know about you. Like lemonade, like chips. So I've had my slips up here and there, but that story I told you, got to be more aggressive because you only get one body. And so, like I said, doing back care, exercise, diet, changing my mindset, getting enough sleep. Those things have been helpful. And it's a long road to recovery, but I know I can do it. And so let's see, what else can I talk about? Oh, there's a statistic when it comes to diabetes that about 33 to 34 million Americans don't even know they are pre-diabetic or diabetic. Have no clue. A lot of times when you don't have symptoms, you think you're just fine, or you're not overweight. You know, it doesn't look apparent on the outside. You think you're just fine. And I mean, I'm 6'1", have a thin build, the average person wouldn't even guess that I'm diabetic. And so that's one of the myths, you know. This thing can happen to anybody, young, old, middle age, adult, teenager, you name it. It's not a respecter of persons. And a lot of times, people of color or minorities have a greater chance of getting it. And so we have to do more and be more proactive than our white counterparts. And so, let's see. I'm trying to give you guys something else. So I'm gonna do a part 3 in another few months, and hopefully I've lost 10, 15 pounds. And hopefully my sugar level is even lower. And hopefully my back has made significant progress. That's gonna be my part 3. So I'm doing better than I was when I first told you guys about it, a little more confident talking about it. And so reach out to me if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Reach out to me. I beefed up my social media, so you can find me on Facebook under my name, Chalmer Williams. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn. Of course, you can find me on any podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Breaker, Bullhorn. The list goes on and on. Leave me a message. I would love to hear from you. I would love to share what I have. I would love to inspire you, and we can hold each other accountable. Even if you don't have diabetes, you might have something else that you're trying to shake, trying to reverse. Let's connect. If it's pressed upon your heart, donate, support this podcast by going to anchorfm.com or Fatherhood Fridays, Anchor FM. And when you see the podcast that says Fatherhood Fridays, you can donate anywhere from 99 cents to $9.99. Your monthly support will be much appreciated, and it will help me and continue me in serving you guys as fathers, as men, as mothers, as women, and whoever else listens. And so I'm wrapping this episode up, but stay tuned. We're gonna have more goodies in the bag. Stay tuned. I'm gonna have a part 3 of I'm a Diabetic Now, and I will see you on the flip side. And if you're listening to the end of this message, that means it's a little too late, in the words of Drake, because I'm about to cut it off. See you later. And here's a sneak peek into next week's Fatherhood Friday episode.
Education too, and you know that students struggle with food insecurities. There are families who do not have enough food. So just take in mind you have COVID happening, and the millions of people who have lost their jobs, those are parents, right? So right now, students, just like it is during a normal school year, they might not be concerned about learning. They might be just trying to figure out, what is my next meal gonna be?